how was acting in God of Carnage?
Oh my God, I
How'd you
loved
feel
it
about
so much.
that?
I can say that now.
Yeah,
During, I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I have that like panic
yeah,
of like, oh my God. And it just so happened, this was a little bit of a weird scheduling thing too, because half the cast had COVID. So we lost a week and a half of at the beginning.
yeah,
So we really only had 2 full weeks of rehearsal and then we were in tech.
yeah,
And my brain was just like lines, 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 lines.
yeah,
And like up to like tech, like still memorizing my lines. Like it was a lot. It was a lot. And
yeah,
it's a fast show and you have to be, on
yeah.
top of those lines. But then it all
It's kinda
like
like Sorkin a little bit. It's just that
a little bit, yeah.
actor
And
really.
it's and you can't like the minute you slow down that conversation, it just dies. And so we really
Yeah,
worked on picking up cues, picking up cues, picking up cues. And it ended up being fabulous and awesome and
yeah.
loved every second of it after that. It was because it like just clicked. Like there was like one day during tech and it was like, okay, this is it. We got it. Now we
Wait,
got it.
so
Okay.
which couple were you with? Were you Alan's
Veronica.
wife? Okay, you're Veronica. Okay, you're the
Yeah.
other. Okay, yeah.
I think that was I Veronica. I think I was Veronica. God, I can't even remember. Yes.
I think so. But
Yeah,
that's such a yeah,
it
such an
was so much
interesting
fun.
play.
Yeah, it was we had so many people come up to us telling us that, "Oh my god, I saw this on Broadway. Your show was so much better." Like, it's
Yeah,
funny. We didn't realize it was funny
yeah.
because I feel
Oh,
like,
that happens like every I think with every show. You're like, is this funny?
"Yeah, this is
Are we being
funny." It was
funny?
funny, and it was really funny. And I think a
Because
lot
you
of
hear it so many times, so you're just like, Is this funny?" Until it goes up, you don't know if anything's funny.
until you hear
You
that
know?
first laugh, and then it sort of takes you back, like, "Oh, that
You're
is
like,
funny.
oh,
Like, that's
this
right.
is funny. This is actually funny.
This is
I thought
actually
I was in a
funny."
drama. I thought I was in a drama.
Yes, yes. Like, there were super serious moments, but I
Yeah.
even just directing, I try to find humor in
Yeah.
everything because I feel like even in the most tragic of circumstances, there's humor.
Well, I
And
think
I feel
that's the
like
danger of like even a Hamlet. I mean, there's humor with Hamlet. It's like to just play him as this stoic thing. It's like that's one
because I don't
dimensional
think
and
that's
boring.
real. That's not
Yeah.
at least in my opinion, that's not human
Yeah.
nature, you know,
Yeah. I
maybe
mean,
to a
there's
fault, but I try to find humor in pretty much everything.
I
Um,
mean, there's nobody out there sets out to just be a villain. They kind of are more circumstances.
how boring, right?
Yeah.
How
You
boring.
know,
Like, ugh.
or
Yeah.
like
So
every
I
movie, they like to set out to make him a villain, and it's like, why?
well, I think you have once you find there's so many layers, and once you find,
Yeah.
the humor or, every villain, in my opinion, has to have, some sort of
Yeah.
I dare I say soul? I don't know if that's even the right word,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
No, I
just
think that's
something
right.
that brings that out, and I think a big mistake personally for myself, I can say, is when I've looked at something and I've gotten the idea in my head about how this is going to be
Right.
before listening to it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Because then I'll listen to it and I'm like, that's it. That's what it is right there.
That's
That's
why
what
I
it is.
think the rehearsal process is so important because it's
So
like you get to
important.
try different things and be like, okay, I don't think this will work, but let's just
Yeah.
try it. You
They,
know?
I have there's a couple actors who I've worked with a lot
Yeah.
and they laugh at me because one of my things that I say all the time is, it just occurred to me. It just occurred to me. I remember saying that
Yeah.
so much during, what was it? During, Lifespan of a Fact. I directed Lifespan of a Fact.
Yeah.
And
I was going to ask you about that.
every time we came into I was, what just occurred to me? And then like one of the actors, Russell, was like, "Did you even read it yet? Like, did you read?" I'm like, "No, it just occurred to me, like after
Yeah.
listening to, blah, 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 blah." So
Well,
like,
sometimes that'll happen. You'll read a
yeah,
play and you'll get one way, and then you'll read it again and be like, "Oh, I didn't think of it in that way.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that what
yeah.
it's
Or
talking about?"
hearing the when you hear a character through somebody else's voice, you know, because I'll
Yeah,
in my head it sounds one way, and I'll, you know,
yeah,
have that sort of idea, and then I'll hear it in somebody else's voice. Wait a minute. Oh. And then I feel like an
yeah,
idiot. Like, how did I not see that or whatever?
yeah. I
So
interviewed this person. She told me that, like, she'll have somebody read the play out to her so that she is hearing it in a different way. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You know, because you can
that's
read it and then it's going through this way, but then if you hear it from somebody else's words,
that's interesting. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
never thought of it that way. You know?
Yeah. I think see this okay, so this is I admit a fault,
Mm,
and this is where my ego
mm,
comes into play because I feel like in my mind, like I wouldn't be able to listen to it. I wouldn't be able to have like I would be critiquing it and
yeah.
like the acting, like I wouldn't be able to have it. I think I'd have to read it myself
Yeah.
first. I don't think I could listen.
I would prefer to read it myself, but like I
Right?
think afterwards though, maybe hearing it in a different way. Although
That's
I'm always scared to like, like to do Hamlet's like I don't want to watch anyone else's Hamlet because I'm like, I want it to come
oh
originally
yeah,
from
no.
me. I don't
Yeah,
want
no. I can't. I don't watch like um you know, like True West, like I read it in school. Like we studied Sam Shepard in school.
yeah.
Like every theater you study
Yeah.
Sam Shepard in school, but I never watched anything. Like even I'm doing Closer now coming up. We have auditions
Yeah.
next week. I've never seen the movie, and everybody keeps telling me you
Yeah.
haven't seen the movie, and like I knew
Yeah.
about it, but I haven't seen it.
I
I
saw the
haven't
movie
watched
like once 20 years ago, I think.
exactly,
And I
and I
don't
probably
have
saw
any memory of it,
zero. Same,
you know,
and I
which is great. Yeah.
I can't like because then I don't then I feel like even if I come up with a cool idea, I feel like I'm
Yeah.
cheating almost. You know what
I
I
know. Well, that's why I think like, see, I've seen so many movies and stuff, and I try to like hold that all back and be like, I don't want it to be like any other
no,
character in my head. I want to go against it. That's why I think reading is so important because it gives
agreed,
you more ideas
agreed.
than
I
because if you watch a movie, you're getting an idea, but it's filtered through this prism.
yeah,
Whereas a book, you can just go wild and be like, oh, wait a second. Like it's hard to go back
perfect.
and read Game of Thrones and not like see Tyrion from the
You know what?
show.
Perfect, and that's a perfect example. Prime example of that. I remember when the Harry Potter series came out.
Mm,
I bought it was only at the time this was there were 2000 or whatever. I bought
yeah,
the four books for my daughter. Holy crap, my niece for
yeah,
Christmas. I was like, oh, Harry Potter, this is like a thing. I bought the little book set and was going
yeah,
to give it to her. And this is when I was in Ohio, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just start to read one of them, like before I give them to her. I was just not
yeah,
planning on reading them. I was planning on skimming, to be honest.
yeah,
I read all four books in like 4 days and was like, this is amazing. Like I couldn't believe I'd never read
yeah,
anything like that before. I wasn't into Star Wars as a kid or anything sort of
yeah,
fantasy. And so this was like I was so
yeah.
and then I saw the movies and was like, that was not what was in my head. You know,
I
like
know.
the
It's
books are
hard to
so much
do.
better.
Yeah. Well, when you read the book, you're competing with you. Whereas, if you watch the movie, it's like
Yeah.
there's no way they can go into every single part. How did you see it? How did you see it? How did you see
Yep.
it? How did you see it? Be like,
Yep.
okay, we've got 400 interpretations. Let's try, like
Or even,
blah.
you know, to even get into as much detail as reading the book,
Yeah.
you know, how the movie would be 20 hours long. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I would.
they were just written so amazing. Like just
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It'd be hard to get people to sit for like I think in New York, they showed a movie that was like 18 hours long,
I'd
it's
die.
like
I
I wanted to do it just, say that like I sat through an 18-hour movie, but it's just like,
I couldn't do it.
I don't
Oof.
feel like
Yeah.
sitting there for
Mm-mm.
that.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Like, do we eat? I mean, I did a Marvel marathon where I watched all 19 films before Endgame,
My
and that
daughter and I did
was
that.
I mean, that was
Yeah, we
I was
watched
in a
them all in
movie
order.
theater for 3 but I was at a movie theater for 3 days.
Yeah. No, we did them at
And that
home and we had
yeah,
breaks in between.
and that was good. Whereas, like, for 3 days, you're with, like, people that you don't know, and you're kinda like we kind of all just, like, decided, like, "Alright, this is the movie we're gonna sleep in." I
Yeah.
mean, the only one guy that was there I saw, like, he was able to stay up the whole 3 days. I'm like, "Dude, how are you alive?
Yeah, that's
I'd be
cocaine.
dead." I he was old, like,
That's drugs.
so
Yeah, no,
it was
I
kinda
don't even
great.
like I don't generally like spending that many hours with people I know, let alone strangers. I
It
like,
was
no. No, thank you.
I mean, that showed you how popular, like, Marvel was at the time, where it's like
Yeah.
you people were willing to sit for for 3 days with strangers.
No, no, no.
You'd have an hour and a half break,
Yeah, no.
and then that was about it. We would bring food. You would actually be able to order food and have it brought into the theater. It's like only time that would ever happen. I
Yeah.
think the Alamo Draft House provided showers. The place I had didn't. I was like, that would have been nice.
Like, at that point, you're like, "What am I doing with myself? This was
What am I
bad."
doing? I'm watching movies with it. So tell me a little bit about True West. How was that? How was doing that
Ah,
show?
True West was awesome. That it's such, Sam Shepard, hello.
Yeah, he's
It's
great. Could
so
you
good.
imagine a Sam Shepard coming along like today? I just like nothing is like that, like
No,
what he
nothing is
writes.
like that. It's so just raw and real and,
Yeah,
there's nothing manufactured about it. It's
yeah,
just people talking, and it's relationships and it was such a fun experience. Although I'm not gonna lie, I was a little intimidated because this is, Dan was in this show.
yeah,
And
yeah. I
I'm
saw.
like, like, okay, no, I can do this. This I can totally do
Like you
this.
gotta
This
be
is
good.
fine.
Yeah, I gotta be good.
Like I have to tell him what to do. Like it was a little intimidating, not gonna lie. But then that like went out the
Yeah,
window because it was, everybody was so into it. It was him and the young man Russell, and the three of us would go in and it was just such a great
yeah,
experience. And it was so fun creating with all of them. And then the two other characters, the two minor characters also were great actors and
yeah,
you know, it was really fun to just let the words sort of dictate what was going to happen. There was
mm,
no, you know, Sam Shepard inherently has a lot of stuff in their scenes.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of stuff. Like there were a lot of props in this show, but it wasn't because the show needed it. It was the only show I think I've ever really been involved with where the set and the actors just were sort of one.
yeah.
It was just sort of together. It was, and it was
Yeah,
nothing
his
like,
yeah, his sets are very, applicable to the script, where it's like usually
yeah,
you're just like, kind of like skip over that part.
yeah,
It's like,
and it's a lot different, in that space, in that black box space.
yeah,
You're used to minimal anything.
yeah,
It's usually you get a couple boxes, and it's creating that way. And this was completely opposite of that.
yeah,
And it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a
yeah,
lot of fun. Like I was really proud of that too. Like just there was one point where I sort of just sat back and was like, oh my God, I see it.
yeah,
After the paint was dry and all this, everything was done, and we had them and their
yeah,
costumes and everything was pulled together, and it was like, oh my God, like I see it. And it was
yeah.
awesome.
Now, do you have a way you like to approach the rehearsal process? How do you like to?
I do. And I didn't know this until I got a few under my belt, but I
Yeah,
realized I like to go in and sort of I like to read it a bunch of times. And then I
yeah,
take it apart, we take it apart in scene. And some of it honestly has to do with, actors schedules and stuff like that. But I really like to do it in doable chunks and to kind of
yeah,
not get it up on its feet for a hot second.
yeah.
I like them to read
Let
it.
it breathe. Let it
Yes,
breathe.
and I like them to read it and I like to talk about it and,
So
you
it can
know
be whatever it needs to be, as opposed to
yeah,
you stand
yeah.
here, you stand there, go there. Like you'll get directors that'll be handing you your blocking like almost on day one.
Yeah,
You're like,
no, no, no. I
"Am I
feel
a
like
puppet?" Am I Kermit the Frog right now?
Walk right. Yeah, no. And I think
Yeah.
it's better for everybody to even just kind of um memorizing obviously once you have it in your head is always
Yeah.
when you get to really play. But I feel like helping them to get there is just doing it over and over and over and reading it and trying different things and talking about like where
Yeah.
we're going, why we're going there, like what the intent is in the
Yeah.
scene, all of that stuff. Not to like beat a dead horse or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
feel like it gets it sort of, and then
Yeah.
the lines come.
Yeah.
I mean, I
No,
just
I
sort
mean,
of,
when you set up the idea and, where it's going, I think that works better than just, here we go. We're gonna
yeah,
just like
yeah.
although
When I,
sometimes you'll get plays where there is no time, so have to do that,
yeah,
go straight to that. But if you
right.
have time, if you have the benefit of that, it's like
It's great.
let's let
I
it
love
move a little
that. I
bit.
love that. And you mentioned before Sex Please or 60. That show
Yeah.
was all doors. There were just, it was one of those sort of almost
Opening doors.
farces where everybody is just going in and out of doors, in and out of doors. There
Yeah.
was just doors. And it was fun to actually work with them with those classic kind of theater games of, why are you coming in? Where are
Yeah.
you going? What
Going
is
to
your,
the door.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah, so that was fun to do with them, just to have them all sort of understand
Yeah.
like
The knock at
you
the
need,
door. Who's
yeah,
coming?
and you need to know where you're going and why are we doing this and why
Mhm.
are we at this door and just having
Yeah.
that intent and talking to them about all that
Yeah.
stuff. That was fun too.
Know where you are at the character at this point, where you are here and that. It's harder in film because in film, I kind of, just did a short film and I had
Yeah.
to, I'm like, okay, my character's here, my character's here, my character's here. So, I know where it is, you're going
Yeah,
to
you have
shoot
to
out of
like
order,
peg it
you
together in
know?
your head. Yeah.
Whereas with a play, you're going through it and you can kind of like let it be what, have you ever seen that film, Vanya on 42nd Street? And it talks about,
No.
this is where Julianne Moore says she really learned how to act. She said
Hmm.
it was because they're doing Uncle Vanya,
Hmm.
and the guy who did My Dinner with Andre, uh, the director, the guy that he's talking to while Sean is talking to in that movie, he's directing this play, uh, Vanya on 42nd Street, and they talk about their rehearsal process and when they would put it up, and they kind of made it for, like, no one to see. It was basically just these actors just doing this play, and it really wasn't made for anyone to go see, like, they weren't selling tickets to it.
Yeah.
So, they had this he was allowing them to, like, it would be different every night because he would be like, "Let's," he kinda came with the idea of there are no wrong choices. You
Right.
just they just went with it, and Julia Moore said she learned that as an actor that she needed to create the circumstances for her work so that she could have the real reaction. And it's an interesting film
That, yeah.
to
That
watch,
makes sense
especially
though.
at a theater. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
because sometimes, we get stuck in it. We're like, okay, this is the way it should be. And it's like,
Ah,
is it?
yes.
It's
The
so
should be's.
should be, and then letting it be what it needs to be, and
Yeah.
I feel like somehow Broadway has kinda hurt that, like, SAG is, not SAG, the, Equity, they're
Yeah.
very, about lines being exactly right and everything being the right, and it doesn't allow for any, I mean, you see a Broadway show, it's almost like a machine. It's just going,
Yes. Yes.
and then
It doesn't veer off in any direction. It is what it
doesn't
is.
feel, you
Yeah.
never feel like you're, like, in danger, as the audience member. There's no sense of, like, it's just, it's timed, it's gonna be over in 2 hours, and
Yes.
that's what they've set it at, and it's like,
And
it
this is the
has to be
music and
done
this
there,
and these are the costs and this is what has to
you
happen
know?
and there's not, that's it. Tight little
Yeah,
box.
and then you're kinda like, I mean, some plays can do that. I saw Matilda in on Broadway, and that was the
Yeah.
RSC, the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I
Hmm.
was like, "Okay, that was good." They were, like, really talking to each other, but then, I've seen some plays where I'm just like, I don't even think they're, it was a
Listening.
matinee, and I just felt like they're just, like, You're just phoning it in, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, you can
Got my
tell.
money back.
Oh my god. And
You know,
that's
you're
so
making us
boring.
pay all this money to see you guys just phone it in. Maybe
Yeah,
8 shows a week is not the right thing then. know, if we're gonna have actors
thank
that are
you.
not gonna show up for it,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there,
Mhm.
let's revamp this in some way then.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, it's just that do you have a play that you would like to direct that you haven't gotten to direct?
Oh, geez. That's a good
Yeah.
question. Um, I don't even know. I don't know. No, I don't have no, I don't.
No?
No. You know what? I'm sort of at that place where I'm taking all of it as experience and as getting a chance to learn and getting a chance to, figure out where I fit into all of this.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, mind you, I've only been really directing and sort of involved regularly. Prior to this past, I guess, 2 or 3 years, I was doing maybe a show a year.
Mhm.
There was a year that I wasn't even, I had a kid. I didn't even go to the Playhouse. So there was
Yeah.
like, yeah. So it's really only been the last 4 years, 3, 4 years that I've really sort of delved into it and have been, I would have, honestly, True West fell into my lap. And I probably, if I hadn't done that, that would probably be one that I would say I would love to direct that show.
Would
Anything,
you wanna go
anything
back
Sam
and
Shepard.
do, like, another Sam Shepard show, like maybe Fool for Love or,
Oh my God, yes. I did Fool for Love in
what's
college. That is such
oh,
a
you
great
did?
show to be so dramatic and to be so angry and just, that was such a great show. Yeah,
What's the
all of
show
them.
he did with, supposed to be Patty, whatever, supposedly. You know, they had, like, the lobster in it or whatever, and, it's like a giant lobster in it, and it sounds so ridiculous, but, you know, it works.
I
Is that
can't think.
show?
I can't think. Ah, yes, I know
I can't
exactly what
remember.
you're talking about. But yes, yes.
But this stuff is, what about would you wanna do, like, A Streetcar Named Desire? Something like that?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
another
I mean, obviously, those are like
yeah,
iconic.
yeah,
Any of those would be just
yeah,
like amazing. But to be honest, I'm kind of, I like the Kimberly Akimbos and
yeah,
the sort of the reckless. Like I like the weird sort of character things.
yeah,
Um, when I was in school, obviously, you're always taught about type and know,
yeah,
your type, 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 type. And I
yeah,
was always, the ingenue, obviously, when you're
yeah,
that age, that's what you are.
yeah.
And this this is going to sound like really obnoxious, and I don't mean it to at all, but I hated, we would do these acting classes and we would have to do these scenes and we would have to do these monologues, or we would be doing these shows or whatever. And there were like, I wanted to play like the ugly parts. I wanted to play like the
Yeah.
characters. Like that's what interested me. And I
Mm.
remember I can't even think what it was right now, but I did a scene. And I remember my drama teacher told me, my acting teacher said that I was too pretty for that role. Like nobody would ever believe that you couldn't do that. And I remember I was like,
It's theater.
what does that even mean? Like I was so pissed off. Like I was so mad about that because I was like,
Like, I mean, it's
and
supposed
it
to be
was like,
make believe. It's supposed to be make believe. You
it
should
was
be able
just,
to play
but
anything.
it like blew my mind. I was like, and so
Yeah.
then like doing like what we do at the Playhouse and doing,
Yeah.
like Kimberly Akimbo like finally I was getting to do these roles that were so interesting and,
Yeah.
just ugly and mean or whatever. And
Yeah.
I had so much fun. Like those are the ones that I love. Like anything, like even anything with an accent or anything with,
Yeah.
just something that lets you actually create something as opposed to just being,
Yeah.
I kind of like am in that phase of my life right
Yeah.
now. Like I like doing that type of stuff.
I've never asked anybody this, but
Oh God,
what play do you hate?
what do I hate?
You have a play that you like that you think is overdone or that like you just are like, ugh, how many times you gotta see that?
Um, okay, so this is good. This is probably either really popular or super unpopular opinion. I am not a fan of Shakespeare.
That's fine.
I'm
You can
not.
do that. You can do
I
that.
did so much Shakespeare in college and appreciate it for what it is, but really I hate it. Like I hate it.
That's great. You know, I we should be able to say that, you know?
And you know what else? I hate. Oh
Yeah.
god, this is
Yeah,
really
keep
bad.
going.
I
Keep
am
going.
not a fan of like improv.
Really?
I hate it.
Wow.
I hate it. I
You
know
you
that's terrible. Forgive me, my friends who do it. I'm so
wow.
sorry.
I
I am
love
not a
it.
fan. Like I get
Oh,
so
like, oh, you mean like going to, improv or whatever. I don't know. I just think of that movie, Ted 2, where they like shout out like the most heinous things you could be like,
I
you're at
hate
Bill
it.
Cosby's office or something horrible like that.
You do all those acting things in
Yeah.
school and you do, whatever. And again, whatever.
Yeah.
I just like as an adult person, I hate it. I hate the
Yeah.
exercise of it. I hate like I get
I
awkward
I
for
used
people.
to hate I used to hate, improv, and then I kinda like my acting teacher kinda made me start to like it. This is like we were able to just like get into a conversation about so we would take like a character that like has no development whatsoever and be like, all right, well, we'll put him in an improv so that he
Mhm.
has something to go with. So I see your, I see the benefits of both.
I do. I personally, I feel I get
Yeah.
so awkward for people. I get embarrassed for people. Like,
Right.
and then it's personal. I totally get it. I don't like feeling
Yeah.
uncomfortable. I don't like seeing people fail. And
You
there's
don't
like
like it. So you must hate like Seinfeld and like Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's like that's all they are is
no.
failing.
See, I don't like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Really?
Is freaking brilliant. Like, no, I
Because
love
when you
that.
said the door thing fell and hit the door, I was like, all I thought about is the Curbed episode where the girl saw him hit a door and she completely lost interest in him
Oh
because
my god.
she saw him as weak. Because he hit him, because he didn't notice the screen, the glass door, and hit it.
That's awesome.
And like she dumped him on it. He's like everybody, every woman thinks
Yeah.
I'm an old man. It's like he hit a door. It's like only Larry David would think of something so, ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
oh, but so give me an example. So you don't mind that kind of failure, but like so like American Idol when they would go on there and like
Oh god, no, no, I couldn't.
he
No,
sing
I had to change
horribly
the
and
channel. Like, I couldn't take it. Like, as soon as no, I couldn't take
you'll
it.
have Simon go, that was dreadful.
The
Who's
the
Gretchen?
the prank shows, Punk'd, couldn't watch it. Couldn't take it.
Really?
Like,
Even though they would reveal it at the end that
I
they
couldn't take it. Or like the when people call up radio stations or whatever, or they like, the prank calls and stuff, like
oh the
I
prank.
get so stressed. I can't take it. I hate it. I hate it so much. I get so uncomfortable for people. Like it's awful.
That's so funny. Or
Off
like
like
so like game shows where like, they've got a I don't know if you've ever watched like some of those Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and they like have
yes,
they mess up on the first question and it's like, but you already locked it
awful.
in. I mean,
I
they knew
hate
it
it.
was wrong, but it's like, yeah.
I couldn't take it. The Impractical Jokers, is that what they're called? The group of
Yeah.
guys that
I
whatever.
never watched that one. But yeah, I know.
I can't, it's they'll it's a setup, what's happening, and they're
Yeah.
like talking in his ear, and he has to say these ridiculous things to people, but the people
Yeah.
don't know. And their
Yeah.
reaction, like that's I get like hives, like I can't take it.
Wow. Then what's that show, Nathan for You, where he like goes into a business and comes up with an idea for a business, but it's like absolutely like
Ridiculous.
like ridiculous. Like
I
he's
hate
going
it.
into a bank for a job, but he has a kid in his ear. So the kid, they'll ask him a question. He says, "That's because there's no bad guys." And like the person's looking at him like, "You're insane."
Hate it. Can't take it. It's awful.
All right, good. We don't like improv.
No.
What who are your inspirations? That's a good thing to kind of close
Who
with.
are my inspirations as far as like in the theater world or just in
Yeah.
life?
just in life, anything.
You
Could
know,
be
it's this is gonna sound so like cliche. It's so silly, but honestly, and I know I'm a mom, so
yeah,
there's that whole part of it. But my kids, my youngest daughter and my oldest daughter, but they're both such different people,
mm,
and they're being adopted. I didn't grow up having
yeah,
anyone that looked like me or had any of that,
yeah,
and having that now and just seeing who they become or seeing them do something that's kind of me, like
yeah,
they inspire me daily. Like there are things that they're so smart. And I look at
yeah,
them every day and I'm just like, how did I get that
yeah,
right? And how am I not
yeah.
messing up? like, you know,
Oh,
like
that's so great.
my older one not so much, but my younger one is really starting to get into theater. Like she'll come with me
Mm,
to the Playhouse and she'll like help me do props or like she's very, very shy, but
yeah,
she'll start to do these things. And her comedic timing, she doesn't even get how funny she is. So
yeah,
funny. And I watch her all the time and I'm just like that. If I could bottle
yeah,
that and take that with me everywhere, even on my like worst day, you know,
yeah.
that positivity and her energy, I would like,
Well, that's what they say. We should be children, you know?
right?
If we could just think like a child, we would be. For some reason, we have this idea that we have to grow up, and it's like not necessarily. I
The
mean,
prime example. So in the past, whatever, couple weeks, whatever, it's been like outside. It's like the moon, Jupiter, Venus, like they've all been in a row,
mm,
whatever. And where I live is sort of there aren't a lot of street lights. So we can really
yeah,
like from my backyard, if I turn the lights off, you can see like a lot of stars or whatever. And just a couple of nights ago, she's like, Mommy. She's like, "God."
yeah,
And she just wanted to lay on the trampoline and just look at the stars. And like, I'm like, oh, I got laundry. Oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do this, and I just took the time to just like lay there with her for just like 10 minutes. And it was the most amazing, like you
yeah,
forget how to be that, you know,
yeah.
like you
Well,
forget how
that's
innocent and how much they want to learn and how everything is interesting. And then she asks questions though that are completely like, Google? like, I have no idea.
Google. Yeah.
But like at the
Why
same
is
time, it's
everything?
like
Yeah, but it's
constant.
good. She's asking.
Yeah.
Keep.
But she brings me back to
Uh,
that sort
yeah,
of love of knowledge and love of things
yeah,
that I'd sort of, you put aside when you're so busy, and you have to
yeah.
have life, you know?
It's a hard thing. How do you to be happy and be busy and still, be able to go? It's the, yeah,
And still find that
yeah,
piece of yourself, that you're not
yeah,
sort of sacrificing to survive. Like, I'm not going to
exactly.
sacrifice this part of myself because I have to have a paycheck, because I have to have a house or whatever.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm constantly trying to either read something or listen to music or,
yeah.
something that,
Just laughter. I think laughter is one of the best things.
and it's
And
so
that's
easy
something kids do is
and it's
they can
free,
laugh and they laugh at anything.
anything.
And that's something they're trying to take away now. They're trying to say, don't laugh at this, don't laugh at that. Laugh at whatever you want
We,
because it's your, you
my
know,
favorite part of the day is in the morning dropping them off for school because we laugh so hard. We
yeah,
my the younger one especially loves accents. We'll just bust out
yeah,
accents. We'll start talking like British, Australian. She'll bring out like all, and we'll just start talking to each other, and we're in hysterics. And by the time she gets to school, and I feel like it's for her and me both. Like it's kind of
yeah,
getting her a good start to her day because
yeah.
school. I'm not gonna lie, is a lot different than it was when I
It's
was in school.
hard. It's hard. They're
Like
making it harder. And
hard
we're
kids
forgetting
stuff.
that they're developing people. And it's like we can't just think like this. It comes from Russia, where we got our school system from. And it's like it's too much. And I feel like, we just want to make them like, the Japanese, the Chinese that just continue working and have
Well,
no life.
and not for nothing, they're taking like 3 different times a day, they're having drills on what to do if there's a school shooter, and they're
Yeah,
having,
that's
like,
horrible. I never, yeah, I
it's
didn't, yeah.
crazy.
That's
It's,
so terrifying
at
that they
least
have to
once a
deal
month,
with that.
they're on some sort of lockdown because of something in the area or something, and so then you add that to
It's
it.
like we can't
It's
let them just be
stressful.
kids. They can't
No.
just be kids. We've got to now
Mm-mm.
drill them into the realities
Yeah.
of somebody bringing a gun because they're
It's crazy.
insane. You know,
Yeah.
it's
So
just
that
it's
morning sort of routine that we've gotten into has been like, it's for both of us really to,
maybe
like,
that's a good thing. Maybe AI is good. It'll make people realize, like, no, can't do that
until AI gets a gun.
until AI gets a gun or something. But this is the day that the paperclip theory I was listening to. But anyways, do you have a beginning of the day routine? I feel like I'm in the dark here, like I'm losing like all this light.
I have a beginning of the
It's
day
so weird.
routine.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sort of. Well, waking up is always a plus.
Yeah, that
Always
that
grateful when
that
that happens. I have big dogs.
oh,
So
cool.
there's always a wake up in the morning, get them fed, get kids ready for
Yeah.
school, you know, there's a lot of that in my life. I don't get a lot of like, oh,
Yeah.
it always cracks me up. I'll read things online like, oh, in the morning I don't even look at my phone for
Yeah,
at
it's
least
like they
half
don't
an
have
hour.
kids. They don't have
Yes,
kids.
no,
They have
I
no
just have
idea
a
what they're
moment
doing.
to just be, and I do some yoga, and like I would love to say that there is none of
Yeah.
that happening. I have no
You
time
can't
for
do
that
that
in
with
my
two kids? No, you can't do that.
life.
And dogs?
There's
No.
there's waking up, there's
You
feeding the
know?
dogs because trust me,
Yeah.
I don't need an alarm clock in my life when I have them.
Oh yeah.
They
They're
are
gonna
very
tell you.
regimented.
They're gonna tell you when it's time to eat.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So there's that. Getting the kids ready, getting myself ready. And then, like I said, my favorite time is the car time. Like taking them to
Yeah.
school, like just laughing hysterically and doing all of that. Um, and then I come and I'm an accountant, and then I'm in that world for
Yeah.
many hours, you
Yeah.
know. But then like I'll have stuff like this sitting around because like
Yeah.
I'll be doing something and then I'm like, oh, and so then I'll like grab it and like write something down or I'll think of something or you know.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I've found like a good balance between the two
That's
worlds.
good.
Yeah,
That's
I found
good.
a good balance. I'm at a place. It's taken a long time, but I think I'm at a place where I have what feeds me really and what feeds me literally sort of
And
balanced.
that's what you need.
Yeah,
Balance is the key. Do you have a
yeah.
nighttime routine?
Yes, actually, I do. Well, it depends. Okay, I'll take that back. It depends on if I'm in theater world, because if I'm in theater world, I don't get home until 11 o'clock
Yeah.
or whatever. Um, but if I'm just in regular world, you know, it's go home after work, listen to the kids for a hot second, dinner, all of that stuff. And then fortunately, my kids are of an age where they kind of like to go to their rooms by themselves,
Yeah.
which is lovely. They'll go do their thing. And then I have a chair. It's my kitchen is like long.
Yeah.
So I have like this little nook in my kitchen where I have this big, fluffy, comfy chair and I have you know, my
Yeah.
little lamp and I'll sit there and that's sort of where I veg between like, let's say 8 and 10. That's where I
Yeah.
read. That's where I listen. Like if there's a TV in my kitchen, if I need to
Yeah.
like do something or like look at a script or whatever, that's like my spot.
That's
And
good.
it's like the perfect. It's right by the slider, so the big horse dogs have to go out, or they'll come and they'll lay there with me, and it's like
What kind of dogs do you have?
they're rescues, so it's
Mm.
hit or miss what they really are. But the the big one, Oliver, is 110 pounds, and he's
Wow.
like golden retriever, but he's mostly black, which is interesting. He has like the brindle where you can see the blonde coming through.
Yeah.
Golden retriever, bull, one of the bully breeds, and Rottweiler, and
Mm.
then the, the other one. she's like a manatee. She's just fat. I don't know what she is.
Manatee.
She's blonde and she's
A
big.
manatee. A manatee.
And she has a really long nose. Like we call her the Franken
Oh.
doggy because she looks like several dogs kind of put together, which isn't very nice. But so
Oh,
yeah,
that's cute.
yeah.
That's
So
cute.
they're yeah. And then we
Mm.
have Kitty Perry, which is our cat, Kitty Perry.
Kitty
So we have
Perry.
her. So we have a
That's
full
cool.
sort of house.
Do you meditate? No, we kind of answered this already, but
Well, no. Okay, sort of.
Hmm.
So do you know the Calm app? Do you have the app Calm?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know the Calm
Okay.
app.
So I do a lot of stuff on that app because
That's good.
like to actually take the time to like do it myself, like no.
Yeah.
I'll put my
Oh, that's
AirPods
awesome.
in and I'll do one of the like 2 minute things that they have on there or whatever. And that's
That's
my
good.
like, or I'll listen, like it'll get really loud at work and I'll put their they have like this white noise mixed with
Yeah,
like
that's what I
rain.
use. I use a thing called brown noise,
Brown, yes,
where
Brownkin.
it blocks it all out, and then I go to
Just listened to
sleep
that
with white
earlier today.
noise.
They have one. Have you heard the green one? They have a green noise too.
Some reason the Alexa still doesn't have green noise. I'm like, I'm kind of pissed. I'm like,
The green
why
one is
don't I have
good.
green noise?
I
I
get
want
what you
green
just
noise.
did there. It took me a hot second.
Yeah, because if I say it, it will
Exactly.
go off, and then it'll be the green noise. Yeah, I mean, there's a different. I love those because it does. If I put brown noise on,
It
I can't
focuses me.
hear any. I can't hear anything in the
No,
other
but it
room.
also it like oddly focuses me in a
Yeah,
weird way to like sort of get out of my head a little bit.
yeah,
Or like I did this during COVID when we were working from home for a short time.
mm,
Um, I don't I books, I love books. I love
me
reading
too.
and I have zero time to sit with a book anymore. So what I'll do, I put and listen to the audibles. I'll
Yeah,
listen and I'll clean and I'll be listening to a book. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, my house is clean. And I wasn't even like heard a whole book or whatever.
yeah.
So during like the home when we were stuck at home for a while, I really started listening. I started getting into biographies. Like I
Mm,
started Mission. It was called Mission. It was the Jimmy Stewart biography, which was completely fascinating. And that got me. And Martson, I think, was the author. Martson, I think he does the biographies. Oh my God,
cool.
fell in love with it. And that was the very first Audible book that I bought was the Jimmy
Yeah,
Stewart. And so then it became like this thing where I would just like, and then
that's
my
good.
it becomes this. Like my kids will come up and start talking to me, and I'm like,
Yeah,
like take it
yeah.
out. Like, wait a minute, mommy's reading.
Mommy's reading.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my next question. What are you reading?
I, there you go. I just did well right now. Closer. I'm like in Closer World.
Yeah,
Like that's all I'm reading right now.
yeah,
And listening. Actually, I'm doing a lot of. I'm looking for lots of like British '90s music right now. So I've been listening to a lot of like Radiohead and like
all right.
Blur and Oasis and like finding all the like I'm on
Good
that
bands.
a lot right now. So
Well, that's the next question to ask you. What are you listening to right now?
well, look at me. Yes, that's what I'm listening to right now, which is a lot of fun. Like I have Spotify, so
Hmm.
I go down wicked rabbit holes, man.
It's the
Like
greatest thing about Spotify is that, like, used to be you had to buy,
everything.
either the CD or now you have everything. It's like there's no excuse to not know
No, not at all.
multiple
And I'm
forms
such
of
a
music.
big I love music. I love music. I
Me
love
too.
adding it to shows. I love like even
Yeah.
the pre-show music.
Yeah.
I'm such a fanatic. Like every
Yeah.
song will mean something or like, you know,
Yeah.
so uh, music. I love it. Love it so much. And this is like that sort of what is it, Brit pop, like that 90s sort of I wasn't all
Yeah.
that familiar with. And then I started listening. I'm like, oh my God, I know this song. And then it,
That's that song, Underworld. Underworld is the band, and that they sing it at the end of Train Spotting.
yes,
That's an interesting song. It's a long
yes,
song. It's like a 10-minute
yes.
song,
Hmm.
but
So
it's an
yeah,
interesting
I'm
sound.
I'm listening to
Yeah.
all that fun stuff right now, trying to get like in that mode.
What are you watching now?
What am I watching right now? Oh, okay. So again, a total coincidence, has nothing to do with Closer, but a friend of mine just turned me on to BritBox through
Oh
Prime.
yeah.
Okay, so I bought BritBox and I've been obsessed with like there's a show called The Cleaner on BritBox. It's Greg
Yeah,
Davey.
yeah, I
He's
know.
a British comedian. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that brought me to Taskmaster. Have you ever seen Taskmaster?
I
Which
know of I don't know, do we have
okay,
a
so this is gonna
Taskmaster?
kind of go against what I said earlier about improv, but this isn't really improv. This is like
Hmm.
a game show environment. It's basically Greg Davies has all these tasks that he makes all of these. It's all these British comedians that come on his show. Basically, there's five of them, and they film this show over like 6 months,
Hmm.
and they're just stupid tasks that they have to do, but they're so freaking funny. Like they'll
Yeah.
have like a bucket of water. Like he'll have them out in the middle of the winter on a track with a bucket of water, and they have to get the water to the next bucket using like a sieve or whatever, or they have to come up
Yeah.
with a creative way, and it's
What's
timed.
what's that British comedian Jimmy Carr, I think it is, or whatever. The one he's like he's very vulgar and very, just that. But the way he does everything with his British
There's
sense of
something of
timing, it's so great.
even it's the timing. I think you're right. Like no matter what
Yeah.
they say, like I'll watch these people, and in my mind, I'm always saying like that wouldn't be funny if they weren't British. Like it's funny. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Like that whole
Well, they know how to like, line up the language so that so that it lands,
yeah, yeah,
Britain is
yeah.
such a culture of, I mean, thespian culture is just
And, and just the way, like even in Closer, like the way some of the way they like put a sentence together is just like there's certain like it sounds better if you say it this way than if you say it this way. Well, yeah, if you're saying it this way because those British the way you say it like hits. If you
yeah,
put the English version of that or the American version of that, it's flat.
yeah.
So there's a lot of like
That's
that
why
when
it's
I'm
so
watching
important
it, like
to
I
learn
appreciate.
the transatlantic speech that we no longer
Yes.
do anymore.
No.
The transatlantic speech, makes so that not every, because the American language is very lazy. Just
Oh
kind of
yeah,
go.
you take classes in college how to be standard, no inflection whatsoever. Like you learn to
Yeah,
be like no accent, no regionalism, no anything.
yeah,
Like where are you from? Nobody would ever know, you know.
yeah,
Whereas if you have that Kentucky accent or you have that,
yeah.
you
It's
know,
not going to help. Yeah,
Tennessee accent, like people are going to know instantly where you're from.
exactly. So funny. This has been great. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. I was so nervous. Like
No, you're great. I knew you were going to be great. When I read your first email, I was like, yeah, she's been great. Just, just let me take you through this.
yes.
So how can people reach you?
People can reach me. Okay, I'm old, so I have my AOL email still. So it's tweeb@aol.com.
We tweet. Cool.
Yes, it's a combination. My name was Trish Weaver. So when I first made that first AOL account back in 1997, you know,
Yeah,
and I've just
kept
kept
it
it
on.
forever and ever, which is funny because I still have people that I went to college with that find me because of that. They'd be like, "Is this
Yeah,
still your email?" I'm like, "Oh my god, yeah,
it is. It
yeah." So it's
is.
cool. Or you can
Anything
just look me up at
else?
the Lake Worth Playhouse. I'm always there.
Yes, on the Lake Worth Playhouse.
Absolutely.
Are you? Yeah, yeah, you are on there. Anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I have to go
All
pick up my
right.
daughter now from school because now I'm going into mom mode. So
Yeah.